I'm here today with one of the foremost experts on the paleography of the Dead Sea Scrolls, Professor Eibart Tichelar, who is a research professor in biblical studies within the Faculty of Religious Studies at Leuven University. Shalom, Professor Tichelar.
Shalom.
Hey, so I heard about you a few weeks ago. I was in Helsinki, Finland, at the International Society of Biblical Literature conference, and there was a session there where they were talking about something they called fishy fragments, and your name kept coming up, and your article was the basis of everything they were talking about during this session on the Dead Sea Scrolls, and I was kind of blown away. I almost felt like I was this innocent scholar whose innocence had been shattered when I found out that a lot of what we look to as the Dead Sea Scrolls are fake. Can you talk to us about this? And then
Yeah,
restore my confidence in the Dead Sea Scrolls at the end, please.
please don't have your confidence. Please don't be upset. First of all, none of the fragments that we have known for tens and tens of years are fake. But what they were talking, I was not there, so I don't know what they were talking about, but I think they were in generally talking about several tens and tens of fragments, perhaps even almost 100 that came on the market all of a sudden from the early 2000s onwards. Which a
And
lot of people,
the term they used was post 2002 Dead Sea Scroll like fragments. That
yes,
was the specific term. So I'm sorry, go on.
exactly. So why 2002? Because from that point on, we are quite confident that many of the fragments that came on the market have problems. And I'm stating it very cautiously, having problems. This means that most of us think that some or all of them, I don't know whether all, but many of them are forgeries. So to my knowledge, no one has argued that any of the fragments that were known before 2002 were forgeries. So that is the 2002. The Dead Sea Scrolls like fragments means they are fragments, and they, to the outsider or even to someone who doesn't pay close attention but still is a specialist, they look like Dead Sea Scrolls, and one could easily think they are Dead Sea Scrolls. Now, of course, one could do that, because if you look at the regular Dead Sea Scrolls, and we actually have tens of thousands of them, and they have been published between the 50s and the 2000s, they appear in many different forms. Some are written extremely neatly, some are written by a hand which some scholars have called vulgar or inexperienced, etc. And because of that range that we find in the, let's say, in the authentic scrolls, we were not at that point when they came on the market in the early 2000s very focused on the possibility that even though they looked bad, with regard to writing, that they could be forgeries. We just think they fitted somewhere in this wide range, from badly written, inexperiencedly written Dead Sea Scrolls up to beautifully calligraphic Dead Sea Scrolls. So, so there are Dead Sea Scrolls like fragments, and initially many experts just assumed they were from the Dead Sea Scrolls, belong to the Dead Sea Scrolls, especially from Qumran. And only incidentally, there were some scholars who said, well, I'm not sure whether they actually come from Qumran, meaning those we know from Qumran actually look different from these here. But that was a minority. For example, Emil Puvesh wrote it once. He says, I have my doubts about the provenance of this specific fragment.
Okay.
So now you're only running 1 year behind, because the avalanche of articles and conference meetings, etc., on these fragments, it only started a year ago at the International SBL in Berlin. I was not there either, but that was the place where where other people decided to put it in the open. And where you were in Helsinki this year was a kind of follow-up on this conference.
Right.
So I think for the last 5 or 6 years, a couple of people, including me, have been talking in small groups about Are they forgeries? And if so, which of them are forgeries, and how do we decide which are forgeries? But it's a quite recent phenomenon.